Welcome to Daily Stoic Practice, your compass to navigate the complexities of modern life with ancient wisdom. What if I told you the secret to truly finding yourself is to disappear? No, not in some dramatic runaway to a remote island kind of way. I'm talking about something quieter, something far more powerful. I'm talking about stepping back from the noise, from the pressure, from the distractions that have consumed your time, energy, and attention for far too long. You know what I mean. It's that endless scroll late at night, comparing your life to strangers online, wondering why you don't feel as happy, as successful, as together as they do. It's waking up every morning feeling exhausted before the day even begins because your mind is already crowded with messages, emails, and invisible expectations you didn't sign up for. It's that ache in your chest, the one that whispers, something's missing. And yet, you keep going. Because that's what you're supposed to do, right? But let me ask you, whose life are you living? That question hit me hard a few years ago. I realized I wasn't living for me. I was performing, chasing approval, molding myself into a version of success that wasn't even mine. And so I made a choice, a quiet, radical choice. I disappeared, not physically, but emotionally, mentally. I logged off. I stepped back. I stopped letting the world's noise drown out my own voice. And for the first time in years, I could hear myself again. That silence, that space, was where my life began to change. And here's the truth. If you feel overwhelmed, lost, or stuck, disappearing might be the boldest, bravest thing you can do. So here's my invitation to you. Step back. Not forever. Not to hide, but long enough to rediscover yourself. Because sometimes the only way to move forward is to first pause. Are you ready? Let's begin. Why does it feel like no matter what you do, you're not moving forward? Every morning, you open your eyes, and it feels like you're already behind. Before your feet even hit the floor, your mind is racing, running through emails you haven't answered, notifications you missed, deadlines you're already chasing. And as you scroll through your phone, you see snapshots of other people's lives, their achievements, their vacations, their seemingly perfect relationships. And then comes that quiet nagging thought. Why am I not there yet? Why does my life feel stuck? Here's the truth, one that took me far too long to understand. You're not stuck because you're lazy or because you're not working hard enough. You're stuck because your energy is scattered. Think about it. Every day, you're pulled in a dozen different directions. One moment, you're answering texts. Next, you're in the middle of work tasks, only to find yourself pulled back into social media. It's a constant loop of reacting, never creating, never moving forward intentionally. It's not your fault. We live in a world designed to keep us distracted. Social media, streaming platforms, endless notifications, all of them are engineered to capture and keep your attention. You're rewarded for being plugged in with likes, comments, dopamine hits that feel good for a moment, but leave you emptier in the long run. Have you noticed how one quick scroll turns into 30 minutes of mindless comparison? How can one notification spiral into hours of distraction? It's like trying to move forward with a backpack full of rocks. Each comparison, each distraction, each moment spent reacting to other people's priorities adds weight to your load, slowing you down, draining your energy, and pulling you off course. And here's where it gets even more challenging. It's not just distractions, it's expectations. Society has a script for how life should look. By this age, you should have this job. By that age, you should have a house, a relationship, and a certain level of success. And when you don't hit those invisible milestones, you start to feel like you failed, even if those goals were never yours to begin with. So you keep running harder, faster, hoping that if you just do more, you'll finally catch up. But the harder you push, the more exhausted you feel. Because deep down, you know you're not moving toward what truly matters to you. You're just spinning your wheels. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." But how do you reclaim that power when your mind is constantly flooded with noise? How do you find clarity when you're overwhelmed, overstimulated, and stuck in a pattern of constant reaction? It starts with this realization. You don't have to keep living this way. The chaos, the distractions, the pressure, it's not inevitable. You have the power to step back, to pause, to reclaim your energy and decide what deserves your focus. Because here's the thing. Life doesn't move forward when you're scattered. It moves forward when you're intentional. You need to clear the noise, tune out the distractions, and create space to listen to what's real. And yes, that might mean disconnecting. That might mean letting go of the need to keep up or impress people who don't even know the real you. It might mean stepping back long enough to ask yourself, what do I really want? Whose expectations am I living for? Where is my energy going, and is it leading me anywhere I actually want to be? The truth is, most of us have been so busy reacting to life that we've forgotten how to create it. We've forgotten how to listen to ourselves, our thoughts, our dreams, our inner voice, because we've been drowning in everyone else's noise. But you can change that. It starts by pulling back just a little. It starts by choosing where your energy goes instead of letting the world decide for you. You're not stuck because you can't move forward. You're stuck because your energy is scattered. And once you learn to focus that energy, once you learn to quiet the noise and step back, you'll find something remarkable waiting for you. Clarity, purpose, momentum. Because sometimes the only way to get unstuck is to pause, to stop reacting, to stop comparing, to stop carrying the weight of expectations that don't belong to you, and instead to create space for yourself. So here's the question you need to ask. Are you ready to let go of what's pulling you in every direction? Are you ready to reclaim your focus, your energy, your life? It starts with one choice, one quiet, intentional choice to step back, because life won't move forward until you do. Every time you compare your life to someone else's, you lose a little bit of your vision. Think about that for a moment. Every time you scroll through social media and see someone's perfect life, their new house, their dream job, their smiling family, you start questioning your own journey. Am I doing enough? Why am I not where they are? What's wrong with me? And here's the dangerous part. You don't even realize it's happening. Comparison creeps in like a shadow, quiet and subtle, but before you know it, it steals your focus, your confidence, and your direction. Instead of moving toward what you want, you find yourself chasing someone else's version of success, someone else's dream. It's not just a comparison either. Every time you say yes to something you don't care about, you're saying no to something that truly matters. You agree to plans that drain you. You take on responsibilities that don't align with your values. You spend time and energy on things that feel urgent but aren't important. And slowly, without even realizing it, you stop being the creator of your own story. You become a passive participant, reacting to the world around you instead of living with intention. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you made a decision purely for yourself? Not because it was what someone expected, not because it was the right thing to do, not because you were afraid of missing out or letting someone down, but because it was what you truly wanted. If you can't remember, you're not alone. The truth is, most of us are living lives shaped by invisible forces, societal expectations, external pressures, inherited habits we've never questioned. Go to school, get the job, find the partner, buy the house, check off all the boxes society tells us we need to be happy. And yet so many of us follow that path and still feel empty, disconnected, stuck. Why? Because we're chasing goals that aren't our own. Imagine your mind as a garden. Left untended, it becomes overgrown with weeds. Those weeds are the distractions, the self-doubt, the noise of the outside world. They grow without permission, choking out the things that matter most, your joy, your purpose, your peace. And here's the hardest part. You're so used to seeing those weeds that you don't even notice them anymore. The chaos feels normal. The overwhelm feels like just life. But what if it doesn't have to be this way? Here's the good news. You have the power to pull those weeds. You have the power to take back control, to clear the space, and to start over. It begins with one radical decision. Step away from the noise. Pull back from the distractions. Stop trying to keep up with people who aren't living your life. Stop saying yes when you mean no. Stop letting society decide what matters to you. This isn't easy. Distraction is comfortable. It's familiar. Scrolling through your phone, staying busy, chasing validation, it feels good in the moment. It numbs the discomfort of asking yourself the hard questions. Who am I? What do I really want? What's missing in my life? But here's what you need to understand. Distraction is stealing from you. It's stealing your time you'll never get back. It's stealing your energy, leaving you drained at the end of each day without a clear sense of why. It's stealing your ability to connect with yourself and the people who truly matter. And maybe the most heartbreaking part, it's stealing your life. Because when you spend your days distracted reacting instead of creating, you're not truly living. You're just existing. But it doesn't have to be this way. You can take back control. You can step away from the noise and reclaim your focus. You can tune out the comparisons and external pressures that have been running your life and start asking yourself what you want. This isn't about disappearing forever. It's not about running away from your responsibilities. It's about making space. Space to reflect, to reset, and to rediscover what matters most to you. Because when you step back from the distractions, something incredible happens. The fog starts to lift. The noise begins to fade. And for the first time in a long time, you can hear your own voice again. That voice, the one you've ignored, the one that's been buried under the chaos, is the voice that knows who you are. It's the voice that knows what you truly want. And once you hear it, you'll realize that you've been carrying the answers all along. So I'm asking you, what's the cost of your distractions? Is it worth losing time, your dreams, your peace? It's time to step away, to quiet the noise, to pull the weeds, because only when you do will you be able to see what's been there all along. A life that feels intentional, authentic, and yours. If you are too busy to watch the whole video, click the like button so you can find the video again. Are you ready to take that first step? Because the truth is, if you don't take back control of your mind, someone else will. And you deserve better than that. Let's clear the noise. Let's start again. Disappearing doesn't mean running away. It doesn't mean abandoning your responsibilities or cutting yourself off from the world. You're not escaping life. You're retreating from the noise to reconnect with yourself. And let's be honest, retreating feels strange at first. The moment you pull back, when you log off, cancel plans, or just sit alone in silence, something inside you feels unsettled. The discomfort creeps in, like a voice whispering, "What are you doing? Shouldn't you be doing more? What if you're falling behind? That's because we've been conditioned to believe that visibility equals value. Think about it. Social media has trained us to perform, to put ourselves on display. Every post, every like, every comment, it all feels like proof that we're doing well. Proof that we matter. But here's the truth. Being seen is not the same as growing. Let that sink in. Performing for others, seeking validation, staying visible just to feel important, it's exhausting. It drains your energy. And the more you pour into this endless performance, the less you have left for the things that truly matter. When was the last time you did something without sharing it? When was the last time you made a choice without worrying about what other people might think? If you're honest, you might realize just how much of your life has been lived for others. We say yes to things we don't want to do because we don't want to disappoint someone. We chase goals that don't inspire us because they're what success is supposed to look like. We make decisions based on how they'll appear to others, not how they feel to us. Over time, this constant need to be visible and validated pulls you further and further away from yourself. You lose sight of what you want, who you are, and what truly brings you peace. This is why disappearing matters. To disappear is to step back not as a form of escape, but as an act of courage. It's about creating intentional space where you can pause, reflect, and listen to yourself. It's about breaking free from the need to perform for others so you can start living authentically. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. Why? Because we've forgotten how to just be with ourselves. We're so used to filling every empty moment with noise, scrolling, texting, working, distracting ourselves that silence feels foreign. But here's the thing. Silence is where the magic happens. When you step back and sit in the stillness, something powerful begins to unfold. The noise starts to fade, the pressure starts to lift, and slowly you start to hear your own voice again, the one that knows what you truly want, the one that's been drowned out for far too long. Disappearing is about reclaiming your focus. It's about stepping away from the chaos long enough to clear the mental clutter and make space for what matters most. Because when you stop reacting to the world around you, you can finally start listening to the world within you. Here's what disappearing looks like. It looks like turning off your notifications and logging out of social media for a while. Give yourself permission to disconnect from the constant buzz of other people's lives. It looks like saying no to things that drain your energy and yes to things that fill you up. Even if it disappoints someone, even if it feels unfamiliar at first, it looks like creating quiet moments in your day, whether it's 10 minutes in the morning or an hour before bed, just to sit, reflect, and be. You don't need to explain yourself to anyone. You don't owe the world an apology for taking time to reconnect with yourself. Think of disappearing as a reset button. You're stepping back, clearing the clutter, and making space to rebuild your life in a way that feels authentic. And here's the best part. When you give yourself permission to disappear, even just a little, you'll discover that the world doesn't fall apart without you. Life keeps moving. People keep going. What changes is you. The fog starts to lift. The tension in your chest starts to ease, and you start to feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Clarity. You'll begin to see the habits, relationships, and distractions that have been holding you back. You'll notice the things that drain you and the things that light you up. And most importantly, you'll reconnect with a version of yourself that doesn't need approval or applause to feel worthy. So, let me ask you, how much of your life is being lived for other people? How often do you make choices to impress, satisfy, or please someone else? What would happen if you gave yourself permission to step back, to disappear not forever, but long enough to rediscover your voice, your values, and your vision for life. Because the truth is, the world doesn't need you to be louder, busier, or more visible. It needs you to be real. And that begins with the courage to step back, tune out the noise, and reconnect with yourself. Disappearing isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. Are you ready to take that step? Let's make space for something real. When you step back, when you choose to disappear from the noise, even for a little while, something remarkable happens. You start to see what really matters. At first, the silence feels strange, even unsettling. You've spent so long in motion, so long surrounded by distractions, that stillness feels unnatural. It's like being in a dark room after hours of staring at a bright screen. Your eyes take time to adjust. Your mind takes time to settle. But once it does, clarity begins to emerge. Without the constant pull of notifications, comparisons, and external noise, you begin to see what's been buried under the chaos. You start to reconnect with your values, what's important to you, not what the world says should be important. You start to hear your goals, your desires, and the quiet call of the life you actually want to live. It's like pruning a tree. When a tree is overgrown, its branches compete for energy. The sunlight can't reach every leaf, and the tree becomes tangled, stunted, suffocating itself. But when you cut away the unnecessary branches, when you strip back what doesn't serve growth, you make space for new, healthy life. The same is true for you. By stepping back, you're not losing, you're gaining. You're making room for what matters. You're allowing your mind, your energy, and your life to breathe again. Let me ask you, how much of your energy is being wasted on things that don't align with your values? The things you say yes to just to avoid guilt. The goals you chase because they look good but don't feel right. The time you spend scrolling through other people's curated lives while your own dreams gather dust. Stepping back gives you the power to take inventory. You start to ask yourself, what am I holding on to that no longer serves me? Where is my time going? And is it leading me anywhere meaningful? What relationships, habits, or commitments need to be pruned so I can grow? And here's the beautiful part. Stepping back doesn't make you weak. It doesn't mean you're failing or falling behind. If anything, it's the opposite. It's an act of strength. Even the greatest minds in history understood this. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful leaders of his time, often retreated into solitude. In the chaos of ruling an empire, he made time to reflect and regain perspective. He understood that to lead others, he first had to know himself. Think about that. If one of the most powerful men in history, the ruler of Rome, could find value in stepping back, what makes us believe we're too busy to do the same? We've been taught to think that stepping back means losing momentum, but that's a lie. Stepping back is how you build momentum. It's how you align yourself so that when you move forward, you're doing it with purpose, intention, and focus. Let me share something I've learned firsthand. When you disappear, even briefly, you don't miss out on life. You reconnect with it. You notice the simple things that bring you joy. A sunrise, a quiet cup of coffee, a moment of laughter with someone you love. You start to see the patterns that have been holding you back. You realize that so much of what you've been chasing was never truly yours to begin with. And you rediscover what feels real, what makes you come alive. Stepping back gives you the power to reset, to take a deep breath and decide, with clarity, this is what I want for my life. This is where I want my energy to go. This is what matters to me. And once you know that, everything changes. You'll stop reacting to life and start creating it. You'll stop living for validation and start living for meaning. You'll stop running in every direction and start walking with purpose. Stepping back doesn't take you out of the game, it changes how you play. It's not about abandoning your life, it's about returning to it stronger, clearer, and more intentional than ever before. So I'll ask you again, what would happen if you gave yourself permission to step back, to tune out the noise and reconnect with yourself, to prune away the distractions, the habits, and the expectations that no longer serve you? Because the truth is, life will keep pulling at you. The noise will never stop on its own, but you don't have to wait for the world to give you permission to pause. You can make that choice right now. Step back, not to escape but to reset, not to hide but to rediscover, because when you return, you'll come back stronger, focused, grounded, clear, and this time, you'll be moving toward a life that feels truly yours. So, how do you start? How do you step back from the noise and reconnect with yourself without abandoning your life or running away completely? The truth is, disappearing doesn't need to happen overnight. You don't have to make some dramatic exit or upend your entire life to begin this process. Real transformation happens quietly, in small intentional steps. And the best part, you can start right where you are. Here's how. 1. Disconnect from social media, even for just 24 hours. This might sound simple, but it's harder than you think. Social media has a way of pulling you in, like a black hole that swallows your time, focus, and self-worth. You open an app to check something quickly, and suddenly an hour disappears into scrolling, comparing, and absorbing noise you didn't need. Try stepping away for just one day. Turn off notifications, delete the apps temporarily, or put your phone on airplane mode. Tell yourself, today I choose presence. Today I choose silence. At first, it'll feel strange. You'll reach for your phone out of habit, only to remember it's not an option. That discomfort, it's a sign you've been hooked for too long. But stick with it. By the end of the day, you'll feel lighter, like you've reclaimed a piece of your mind that had been borrowed by someone else. 2. Create space for solitude. Disappearing doesn't mean isolation, but it does mean carving out time to be alone with yourself intentionally. Start small. 10 minutes in the morning before the world wakes up, or an hour in the evening when the day quiets down. Find a quiet spot. Maybe it's a corner of your home with a notebook and a cup of tea. Maybe it's a walk through a park, just you and your thoughts. In those moments of solitude, don't rush to fill the silence. Let it be. Let yourself breathe. Because here's what happens when you give yourself that space. The mind begins to clear. The constant chatter, the to-do lists, the worries, the distractions starts to fade. And underneath it all, you'll begin to hear something you haven't heard in a while. Your own voice. 3. Start journaling daily. Journaling isn't about writing perfectly or crafting something profound. It's about slowing down, putting your thoughts on paper, and making sense of what's going on inside you. Start simple. How am I feeling today? What's on my mind? What do I need to let go of? Writing helps you untangle the mess of thoughts swirling in your head. It gives you clarity, and over time, you'll notice patterns, things you want more of, things you need to change, things you've been avoiding. Journaling is like shining a light into the corners of your mind. It brings awareness to what's been hiding there and helps you decide what stays and what goes. 4. Reflect. Sit in silence and ask yourself the tough questions. This part is uncomfortable because it forces you to be honest, but growth begins with honesty. Find a quiet moment and ask yourself, what do I truly want in my life? What habits are holding me back? What would my ideal day look like? At first, the answers might not come. That's okay. Sit with the questions anyway. Give yourself permission not to know. The answers will surface when you're ready to hear them. Reflection is a process, a quiet, ongoing dialogue with yourself. 5. Start clearing the clutter physically and mentally. Sometimes the noise we feel internally mirrors the clutter in our physical world. Take a look around you. Is your space filled with things you don't need, clothes you never wear, papers you've been avoiding? Start small. Clear out a drawer, a shelf, or your desk. And as you do, notice how it feels. The act of letting go of physically creating space has a powerful effect on the mind. The same goes for your mental clutter. Think about the habits, commitments, and distractions that weigh you down. What can you let go of? Start saying no to the things that drain you. Start saying yes to the things that bring you peace. 6. Accept the discomfort. Let's be real. Disappearing, even in small ways, feels uncomfortable at first. Stepping away from the constant buzz of life can make you feel exposed, like you've been stripped of something familiar. The silence can feel loud. The stillness can feel heavy. But remember this, discomfort is where growth happens. It's like clearing out a cluttered attic. At first, it's dusty and overwhelming. You don't know where to start, and the mess feels endless. But as you begin bit by bit, you start to see progress. You clear space, you let light in. The same happens when you create space for yourself. The discomfort fades, and clarity begins to take its place. 7. Commit to the process one small step at a time. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. Disappearing is not about perfection, it's about intention. It's about giving yourself permission to pause, to reset, to listen. Start where you are. Take 10 minutes today to sit quietly, journal, or go for a walk without your phone. Tomorrow, take 15. Let the process build, step by step. Because when you step back even just a little, you're giving yourself the greatest gift, the chance to reconnect with who you are and what truly matters. And here's the truth. When you return, when you step back into the world, you'll come back clearer, stronger, and more grounded. You'll come back with a sense of direction that doesn't rely on likes, validation, or anyone else's opinion. You'll come back as the version of yourself that feels real. The version that doesn't need to perform, prove, or compete. Because when you learn to disappear from the noise, you learn how to truly show up for yourself, for the people you love, and for the life you want to create. Are you ready to take that first step? Start small. Trust the process. And remember, the silence that feels uncomfortable today might just be the space where your transformation begins. Disappearing and reflecting are the first steps, essential ones, but they're not the destination. After you've cleared the noise and created space, the real work begins, rebuilding yourself. Not in a frantic, sweeping, change your life overnight kind of way. That's not how transformation happens. Real, lasting change comes quietly. It happens in small, consistent actions that compound over time, like bricks being laid one by one to build a stronger, more intentional foundation for your life. And the first brick you lay is awareness. You've spent time reflecting, so now it's time to ask yourself, what matters most to me? We're talking about your core values, the things that give your life meaning and direction. What do you truly value? Maybe it's your health, your relationships, your creativity, or your personal growth. Maybe it's freedom, peace, or making a difference in the lives of others. Take time to write these down. Be honest. Don't think about what you should value. Ask yourself what genuinely feels right for you. These values will become your compass, helping you make decisions and choose where to place your energy. Once you know your values, the next step is aligning your habits with them. Let's say one of your values is health. You don't need to start by running marathons or overhauling your entire diet. Start small. Commit to a daily 10-minute walk, or drinking more water. If one of your values is connection, set aside time each week to call a friend or spend uninterrupted time with your family. The key here is consistency, not perfection. Small habits repeated daily may not seem like much, but over time they become the foundation of your life. They're the quiet proof that you're showing up for yourself, that you're choosing to live in alignment with what matters most. And as you build these habits, you also need to let go of something, external validation. This is easier said than done, because most of us have spent our lives chasing approval, trying to impress, to be liked, to be seen as enough. But here's a powerful question to ask yourself. If no one were watching, what would I do differently? Would you change careers? Write that book? Spend more time on your hobbies? Let go of relationships that no longer serve you? Would you live slower, more intentionally, instead of racing to keep up with everyone else? When you stop living for the opinions of others, you free yourself to start living for you. But here's the truth. Rebuilding yourself takes time. You didn't get where you are overnight, and you won't transform overnight either. And that's okay. Real growth isn't rushed. It's patient. It's forgiving. It's about showing up, even when it's hard, and trusting that every small step is bringing you closer to the person you want to be. And yes, there will be setbacks. There will be days when you feel like you're not making progress. Days when old habits creep back in, or doubt whispers in your ear, what's the point? But this is where you practice kindness with yourself. Growth isn't a straight line, it's a messy, winding path. What matters is that you keep going. When you stumble, pause, reflect. Ask yourself, what did I learn? How can I adjust? Then pick yourself up and take the next step. Every time you choose to show up, no matter how small the action, you're proving something important to yourself. You are capable of change. You are capable of creating a life that feels aligned, intentional, and meaningful. Rebuilding yourself also means clearing out what doesn't belong anymore. Just like you cleaned out the mental noise and clutter in your earlier steps, now it's time to reassess. What habits are holding me back? What relationships are draining me? What commitments no longer align with my values? Letting go isn't easy. It's uncomfortable, even painful, to release things you've carried for so long. But sometimes the only way to grow is to release what's weighing you down. You have to create space for something new to take root. Think of your life as a house. For years, you've been building on shaky foundations, external expectations, distractions, habits that don't serve you. Rebuilding means tearing down what's unstable and constructing something stronger, brick by brick, choice by choice. Start simple. Choose one area of your life, your health, your mindset, your relationships, or your work, and take one small, deliberate action. If your goal is to build healthier habits, commit to one positive choice today. If you want to strengthen your relationships, start by being present. Listen more deeply. Set aside your phone and give someone your undivided attention. If you want more peace in your life, look at where your energy is going. Start saying no to the things that pull you away from your values and yes to the things that bring you closer to yourself. Remember, this isn't about perfection. It's about progress. And over time, as you lay these small bricks of change, you'll begin to see the transformation. The chaos will start to settle. The fog will begin to lift. And you'll realize you're no longer living a life shaped by the noise, the expectations, or the distractions that once held you back. Instead, you're living a life that feels true. A life that reflects who you are, what you value, and where you want to go. So where do you start? Start here. Start now. Choose one thing, one habit, one mindset shift. One decision that brings you closer to the life you want to create. Because rebuilding yourself isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming you, the version of you that feels real, whole, and alive. Be patient, be consistent, and trust that every small step you take is building something extraordinary. This is your foundation, and brick by brick, you are creating the life you were meant to live. Transformation begins with a single decision, your decision. To step back, to disappear not forever, but just long enough to reset, refocus, and rediscover who you truly are beneath the noise. So here's my challenge for you. Take 10 minutes today, just 10 minutes to pause and reflect. Sit quietly, write, or simply breathe. Ask yourself, what do I need right now? What matters most to me? Then disconnect. Log off social media for 24 hours. Let the world be quiet for a little while so you can hear yourself again. And finally, choose one small intentional step. Set a boundary that protects your energy. Start building one habit that aligns with the life you want. It's simple, but it's powerful. Small steps are how change begins. If this message resonates with you, say it out loud, write it down, or leave it in the comments. I'm ready. Because the world doesn't need a louder, busier version of you. It needs the truest version, the one only you can bring to life. Are you ready to begin? Let's take that first step together. If this resonates with you, please like and subscribe to Daily Stoic Practice and share your insights in the comments. Your thoughts may inspire others on their own journeys to inner peace and resilience. Don't miss our daily videos, insightful discussions, and practical tips for applying Stoic principles to your modern life.